All right, everybody. It is 7 o'clock. That means it's time for a Who Dat Confessional. It's going to be me, it's going to be Brian, and it's going to be you guys. We're looking forward to talking to you tonight. Want to give y'all a quick update. For those who tuned in last week, y'all were here. We prayed for Scott Alexander. I do have a good report for everybody. He is doing better. Continue to keep him in your prayers for his health and just his general well-being, his family, everything. But we've got good news, so that's always a great thing. We love to give a good report on those times. Now, just moving into football, how about those Saints? Man, it's crazy. We go against two of the best defenses in the NFL in the past month. We beat those two teams, and then we completely well, we're not going to say bad words on this show. This is a family show. Let's just say they had a inability to score points against two of the weaker defenses in the NFL. So right now we are clinging to very slim, miracle-needing playoff hopes, which leads most fans to kind of have an internal tug-of-war. Do we want to lose out and get a good draft pick, get that Reuben Foster, get that Barnett, get Leonard Fournette, as some fans want, or do we try to win out and make it to the playoffs and be 8-8? Well, we'll talk about that tonight. And then we also got to talk about a little thing that's ruffled several feathers. Mark Ingram had a little bit of an outburst on Sunday. Of course, I'm going to disagree with a couple of people who will come on tonight, but I know y'all love that. And then we've, of course, got to talk about Tampa, the team that we couldn't beat just a couple weeks ago. We have to play again. 2 times in 3 weeks is a very difficult stretch for any team, both the winner and the loser, to flip around and try to see what they did well and duplicate that and then fix the mistakes that they had. So it'll be interesting to see if the Saints can pull off a win this Sunday. Right now, as it sits, our playoff hopes are alive. There is a very slim possibility. We have seen greater miracles happen out of New Orleans, so let's not say it's impossible. But it is a very, very long shot. We'll get into that a little later tonight. And we will also have Barry from the Big Easy Believer joining us around 7:30. So make sure you're tuning in for that. For all those listening, we appreciate y'all. But don't forget that you can call in tonight. We're going to have a slightly shorter than normal show. Usually we'll go to about 9. We're going to cut it off around 8:30 tonight. But that still gives us plenty of time to talk Saints football. That number to call in, though, if you want to be a participant in the show is 504-533-8444. So just to give a quick recap for everybody who's unaware as we wait for Brian to get in, I really do this every week, but I probably don't need to. I'm pretty sure that everybody is aware of the games that we play. If, however, you decide to stop watching the Saints because of some of the fundamental collapses that they have had this year, but you decided to come back because of that nice win, it's certainly worth going back and rewatching if you missed it. We defeated the Arizona Cardinals 48-41, and it was just one of those games where he just knew the Saints were clicking on all facets. And it wasn't just Drew Brees in the passing game, which was certainly very strong. He finished with 3 passing touchdowns in the first half. But he would complete the game 37-48. That's 77% passing. 4 touchdowns, 389 yards, and here's the kicker, Saints fans, no interceptions. So those past 2 games where he threw 3 interceptions per game, he decided to stop that little streak. He didn't want to keep it going, and we are very thankful for that. Mark Ingram had a hot hand running 17 carries, 78 yards for a 4.6 average. Certainly getting in a lot of the carries there, but that also led to a couple other things that I really need Brian and Barry here to talk about because that's going to be exciting. Everybody's looking forward to that, I know. Also, Tim Hightower, great game against his former team, 11 carries, 37 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. That's a 3.4 carry average. And I didn't know why we did this, but towards the end of the second half, we decided to just tack on some yards, and Travaris Cadet got him a nice 16-yard run as well as a catch. So it was an interesting day for Saints football. It really puts me at a loss overall for us to come out and do so well against the Rams and the Cardinals and to completely lay eggs against 2 other teams that aren't near as good in my opinion. But it sounds like Brian's with us. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing well, my brother. How are you?
I don't know, man. I'm just so torn every which way. The Saints team's got me not knowing what's going on in the world. The sky's green and the grass is blue.
Pretty much, man. At this point, it's pretty much how it looks.
Yeah, so, but I did say this. I really enjoyed the win. That Sunday win, that's the Saints that we remember from 09-11, just demolishing whoever they had to demolish to pick up the W.
I mean, it was a good win for a team that has shown it isn't capable of showing up when they need to. So I can't argue about the win. I just don't know what this means in the grand scheme of things, because a lot of people are getting excited saying the P word once again, and I'm not really sure if they should get ahead of themselves. We've seen what the Saints can do once they get a little bit of success. So we'll see how they handle it this time. It's a home game versus Tampa, but didn't work out well last time for them, now did it?
Yeah, I mean, granted, that was an away game, and we always split the series with Tampa. Not that I'm trying to build up on the hope. I'm just saying it's not unprecedented. There is a chance for the Saints to pull it off, but we're talking a very slim chance. The only thing that they really gained, in my opinion, was they gained 4 more spots in the wrong direction for the NFL draft, going from 8th to 12th with that win.
I'm glad you mentioned NFL draft, because we're going to bring on later on in the show Barry Hurstis from the Big Easy Believer, and he's got a few ideas, and one of the names in particular, who's his first-round draft pick for the New Orleans Saints, man. It's a name that you and I have kind of thrown around on this show before. So I think Barry's going to bring a little bit of insight that we haven't touched on as far as the second through 7th-round picks that Saints fans should get to know and they should like.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. As everybody knows, Barry used to be my co-host on this show. I helped him launch the Big Easy Believer. We have since started writing. Well, he still writes for the Believer. I write for the Canal Street Chronicles. Not that there's any bad blood there. He is a good guy and a big name in the Saints blogging world, so it'll be interesting to see what he has to say. And, man, I'm really looking forward to the names that he's going to bring up, because it's this kind of time of year that everybody really starts – well, it's the Saints time of year that we all start taking a look at drafts, potential draft picks. Most other teams are getting ready for the playoffs, just not us.
Unfortunately, not. The best we can do right now is look forward to the draft. But if recent history is worth anything, man, the Saints have done fairly well with their last few drafts. So it may not be, detrimental that they'll be picking somewhere in the early top half of the draft, top 15 at this point, which is kind of what we're used to around here because of the 7 and 9 finishes. But it may not be such a bad thing, especially considering that this defense is very young right now, loaded with a lot of talent. If they can just continue to add to that, definitely add depth, the Saints could be, moving forward defensively, one of the better teams in the NFL.
Yeah, man, it's one of those things. It's kind of a two-edged sword. I will throw this out there, but just in case Saints fans do want to know what is required for us to make the playoffs. This is what you have to have happen. The Saints have to win out, of course. You lose, you're out. We need the Redskins to lose out. We need the Green Bay Packers to lose out, and we need the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to lose out. So it's a stretch. It is technically possible. It's not like we haven't seen crazy things happen before. Nobody expected the Giants to win Super Bowls with their records, yet they upset, the perfect Patriots. So anything's possible on any given Sunday, or in this case, Saturday. We'll just have to see how it goes. Now, in terms of draft picks, I have started compiling my list a little earlier than I expected, because I'm hoping to get a little bit more work in January on the draft. So I've already got some names. It'll be interesting to compare notes with somebody else.
Couldn't agree more with you. I mean, if in this point, you and I have both, kind of alluded to the fact that we thought this year would be more of a 7 and 9, 8 and 8 type of season. You can't truly count the Saints out, and if they make it, and I mean it's all capital letters with those two just now. If they can make it into the tournament, man, it's anybody's ball game. The season starts over. However, in my opinion, I don't even think it's worth discussing. And for the future, is what I'm looking forward to right now with the Saints, which is basically, let's try to finish this year off with some momentum, let that catapult you into the offseason, into the draft, and then build that towards next season, because this season is pretty much done and over with, and it kind of seems like it was since the open game.
Yeah. I mean, and I track this. Most of our losses have come against teams that will most likely end in the playoffs. It's not like we've lost to scrubs. I mean, there are a couple of exceptions there, but losing to teams like Denver, who might make it in the playoffs, they're kind of an odd team. That AFC West is much more competitive now that Peyton Manning is retired. But we lost against the Raiders, who are my pick to possibly make it to the Super Bowl. I'm still unsure if Carr is able to go to New England and beat a Tom Brady, because you like Brady, hate Brady, you like Belichick, hate Belichick. That is the toughest place to go in the AFC and conquer. But they are the team that I want from the AFC and are my favorites to win it. And then you got the Chiefs, who they're not flashy. They're not who you would think is pushing it, but the Chiefs are going to be playoff teams. You know, we've lost as legitimate teams. It's not like, I know I got to mention the Falcons too. But, I mean, it's not like we're struggling against the bottom of the barrel. We're not losing to the Jacksonvilles. We're not losing to the Browns, things like that. It's been one of those teams. This is what you expect to lose when you're in a rebuild mode. The advantage for us, though, is we're rebuilding with the Hall of Fame quarterback. That has its pros and cons, but at least from that standpoint, you've got something stable on that end. Now, if you can just solidify a little bit of the pieces around it, we've talked about this so many times. The cap is increasing. We've got a young core that we can build around now with the depth that we need, the draft picks that we can go for. 2017 is the year where we could see the potential come to fruition. We just got to see it happen. So it's not a guarantee, but it looks good.
It's kind of weird because you mentioned the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is something that I was actually going to bring up on the show later on, but I might as well do it now because it's a perfect segue. It's the idea that Saints fans, media alike, if you want to call yourself something somewhere in between, that's fine with me. You get no argument, but we all have kind of taken a blind eye and want to sit down and say, well, the Saints aren't Jacksonville. Well, the reality is the Saints really are. And the only thing that separates the Saints from being the Jacksonville Jaguars or looked upon as the Jacksonville Jaguars is Drew Brees. Why? Because since 2013, there have only been two teams in the NFL that have yet to break 500. Those teams are the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints. That means, yes, the and whatever Cleveland Browns have actually been above 500 and the Saints have not. So it's kind of crazy that we look at the Saints in such a positive light. And the only reason I can think of is because of Drew Brees and how amazing he's been and the talent that we see. But talent means nothing if you can't win. So, I mean, as much as I would love to sit down and kind of praise the Saints for being, one step away, they're also one step away from being a Jaguar. So, I would love to see the talent that they have finally put it all together. And this year, you look at special teams, and you say the Saints have to make a move there because it's so obvious. Okay, give Sean Payton credit. Will Lutz looks a heck of a lot better than he did early in the season. I don't know if it was the rookie jitters. I don't know what it was, but he looks a heck of a lot more comfortable now. Maybe it was the move of bringing in another special teams assistant.
I think that it definitely changed from that point on. So
yeah. However, even with that being said, and I'm going to give Sean all the credit in the world for making it happen, and which he saw a problem and he decided to correct it. But I also have to say that you have to do something about McMahon because if you look at three special team plays, the Saints could be right now a totally different team. And I know woulda, coulda, shoulda, and all of that stuff right there. I know this, but the idea of it all is you can't pick and choose. You got to kind of you call it the way you see it. And in this case, the Saints are a few special teams away from being a heck of a lot better record-wise than what they are. So I question going into next season, is Sean Payton going to find the onion to do what he has to do when it comes to his friend Rev McMahon? I honestly don't know if he will, and if he doesn't, it's going to be a shame and a stain on what could have been because I don't ever see the Saints special teams being an improved unit. You know what I mean? As far as like when you think about they had Reggie Bush and Darren Sproles, and when they had that's individual talent. We're talking about being able to coach guys to make plays on special teams, and I don't think McMahon can do it.
Well, I think that's for me anyway, and I've always stressed this before. There's a very thin line in the NFL, mainly since free agency has come about, between being a contender and being a pretender. And the Saints are right now teetering on that line, and they can fall either way. Obviously, as Saints fans, we're going to focus more on the